Hello, my creative people. Okay, so we're learning how to knit, and that's all fun for a little while, but what's really fun is to do a project. So for your first project, we're going to do a baby blanket. I have two different yarns here. This is it doesn't say what size it is. They're supposed to, but usually there's a box that says what size it is. Well, anyway, you look at the back, and even if they don't tell you what size it is, they'll show you the needle or the crochet hook that suggests what you can use to get the best stitch when you're working with it. But I have decided I'm going to use this baby bulky yarn, and this is a super bulky. It's a number 6, and it suggests a number 8 needle, or if I was crocheting it would be a USK needle. Crochet hook, I mean, excuse me. We only use needles for knitting. So anyways, I've got my circular or cable needles, and I'm going to cast on. Let's move this out of the way, pull some yarn out. I'm going to cast on only one. I'm just going to do a slip knot, so that goes over your finger, cross it over and push it from the bottom to the top, and you'll get a slip knot. So put your slip knot on your needle, pull it snugly but loose enough that you can move it around so you can get the needle to go through it. And this is especially important when you're doing a bulky yarn, because you don't realize how tight you can get until you try to actually knit with it. Now we're not going to cast on more than one. That's all we're going to put on. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our needle in from front to back, yarn over, and pull it through. That's a knit stitch. Now we want to add another stitch on here because we're making a corner of the baby blanket, and so we're going, instead of going from front to back, we're going to take our needle to the back, and we're going to push it through that back loop. Yeah, I'm trying to do it in an angle you can see, and I'm having trouble seeing. So okay, so I put it through the back loop, and I'm going to yarn over and bring it through and then drop it. Now see, we have 2 stitches there. So we're going to do that at the beginning of every row, and we're going to keep doing that until we get the whole side is as tall as you want your blanket. So you can do this any size you want. You could do that like 8 by 8 with cotton cotton yarn or cotton string, and make a washcloth if you wanted to. So you get to create this. Just decide what size blanket you want, how many inches, write it down so that you remember, and you're going to measure the whole side until you get to that measurement. Alright, so the first stitch is always going to be knit 1 in the front, yarn over, pull it through, take it to the back, knit 1 in the back, yarn over, pull it through. This is going to build your blanket. It's going to make it so that you keep making a corner. Alright, so you just added an extra stitch, and then you're going to knit to the end. And in this case, there's only one. So you're going to do a knit, turn your work around, knit one in the front, yarn over, and if you can't remember how to knit, I did do a video on knitting and you can always go back to that one. Take your needle to the back because we're going to knit in the back, yarn over, bring it through. Make sure you can move your needle. Make sure that your tension is not too tight. And see this finger? Whether you do it on this side or that side, whatever's comfortable for you, that's how you control your tension. Alright, so I knitted one in the front and one in the back. I'm going to drop that and go to the next stitch. Front to back, knit one. Front to the back, knit two. Look at this. See, we're building the corner right here. I'm making sure my tension is nice and loose so it'll still move. So we're at the beginning of the row, so we're going to knit one in the front, one in the back. So insert it front to back. Yarn over. Don't drop it, go to the back, yarn, knit one in the back, yarn over, bring it through. That one's bringing it through from the back is a little tricky. Make sure you're getting the right tension there before you drop it. Well, I guess you can drop it, but just check your tension there. Then we're going to knit to the end of the row. Front to back, knit, front to back, knit, front to back, knit. I'll do a little bit more with you. And we're turning it over. Look how pretty that looks. And this is because it's a bulky one. You're not seeing the little stitches. If I did it with a thin one, you would be able to see the stitches better. And maybe I'll do it with a thin one. So if you're using a bulkier yarn, you don't have to watch the thin one. And the people using the thin one can stay and watch that one. Alright, knit one in the front, knit one in the back, slip it, front to back, yarn over, knit one, front to back, yarn over, knit one, front to back, yarn over, knit one. Alright, and turn it over. We're at the beginning again, beginning of the row. We're going to knit one in the front and one in the back. Yarn over, draw it through, go to the back, yarn over, pull it through. This one's kind of tricky on that one. And I'm wiggling it so that I'm pulling the yarn through easier that way. Alright, so we're back to knitting to the rest of the row. Knit, front to back, knit, front to back, knit, front to back, knit. Alright, I'm going to just do a couple more rows just real quickly without saying anything, because I think you've got it now. You're probably sick of hearing me say it. Sorry about the dogs in the background. It seems like they never make any noise until I try and tape. And then they think, oh, it's playtime. Oops, need more yarn. There. look how we're getting this really nice corner. And yours might look different, but it does take a little bit of practice. And this one will be thicker because it's a bulkier yarn. Alright. Gotta do our increase on the beginning of the row. I have trouble with that back one. It's a little harder than just knitting. So take it easy on that one. Okay, one more row and then I'm going to switch to the thinner yarn so that you can see the difference in the stitch. I think you guys got it now though, but if you are having any difficulty, say something in the comments or message me and I will help you out. And I don't know, maybe we'll have some people that already know how to knit that are doing this along with us, and they can always comment also. And maybe somebody else has an easier way. Alright, so that's it on the bulky one, and I'm going to switch to the skinnier one, but you can see that we're knitting on both sides. Here's your corner, and you're just going to keep going up, and you will measure the side until you get to the size that you want of your blanket. So if you want a really big blanket, you can keep going. This will be a square blanket though, so it's hard, you know, you can't do like a rectangle or anything. This is going to be a square blanket. So you'll keep going up, and I'll do a second video to show you how to do the second half. So once you get to the length of your blanket, we're going to have to start decreasing. So this is for the first half. Alright, now I'm going to pull that off, and I'm going to switch to this thinner yarn. We're going to see how it does on a size 8. We're going to see if I can find an end. This is a rather messy skein here. Here's an end. I like to work with the ends that are stuck in the middle, so I'm going to first see if I can find it, and if I can't, then I'll sometimes they're very hard to find. And if I can't find the middle one, I'll just work off the outside one. Okay, I'm going to have to work off the outside one. Let me check my camera to make sure that I've got my hands in the right position. Yeah, you should be able to see everything I'm doing. Alright, so this is a thinner yarn, and if you didn't, like when I do it, if you think it looks too loose or something like that and you don't like the look of it, you can always go down to a smaller needle. I just had the end right there and I messed with it, and now I can't find it. Oh, there it is. You guys were probably looking right at it. Hey Luna, hush. Alright, now we're going to try it with the smaller one. Now don't forget, we're going to do a slip knot. We're going to cross that over your finger, push it through the bottom and up, and that gives you a slip knot. Remember, if you can't pull it, it's not a slip knot. So make sure you can pull on it. Alright, I'm going to put this through there and get my other needle. I'm going to hold the tail so that it won't flip over the needle. And I'm going to knit through the front to back, knit, and go to the back one, yarn over, bring it through. Now my first loop was a little loose, so I'm going to just pull on this back one to make that a little tighter, and then I'll pull on that to make the second one tighter, and we'll flip it over. So now you can actually see the stitches with this one. So we're going to knit in the front to back, yarn over, increase one by going to the back, yarn over, and bring it through, then knit, and I'm holding this tail there. Alright, so we're going to turn it over, and when I'm turning it over, I'm having to, because of this cable is rather stiff, and I just kind of flip my needle around so that it's in a comfortable position. So whatever you do what's comfortable for you. Alright, so hold your tail there so that your work doesn't flip over when you're trying to stitch. We're going to do our first stitch is always going to be our increase. So we're going to yarn front to back, knit front to back, yarn over, go to the back, and knit through the back loop. Yarn over, bring it through, drop the stitch, and go to knit to the end. Yarn over, pull it through, drop it. Front to back, yarn over, pull it through, drop it. And we're gonna flip it, and like I said, I have to turn my knitting needles or else the cable is too stiff. Okay, we're on the first stitch of the row, and we're going to do an increase by knitting in the front and the back. Go to the back, yarn over, knit, and then drop it. Knit to the end. You should be getting the hang of this by now. Whoops. Also, sometimes I have to hold that other needle because the cable flips it over. Now on this one, you can see the stitches much more. Flip it over. We're on our increase, the first stitch of the row. Yarn over. Oops. Hold on. See how the cable was pulling on my needle and I couldn't quite do it very comfortably. So I got my cable untangled, and I'm going to knit in the front stitch. For my increase, I'm going to take it to the back and knit in the back. And then I'm going to knit all the way across to the end. Paying attention to my tension. Flip it over. Pulling more yarn out as I need it. Alright, we're at the front. First stitch, this is our increase. Knit through the front, knit through the back, and drop the old stitch and go to the next one. Yarn over, knit, 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 all the way to the end. Now see, you can start seeing this on here. You can see those stitches. And you know, even though it called for a smaller needle, I think this number 8 needle is doing fine. I like the tension. I like the way it looks. Alright, so we're on our increase. Knit in the front, knit in the back, and then knit across, all the way across. And flip it over, fix your gable so it's not pulling. There. I'm going to do an increase, so we're going to knit in the front, knit in the back, and then slip that old one off and knit across. Okay, I'll do a couple more rows just so you can see how it looks. I think if I keep doing this, it'll get boring for you. If you don't have the hang of it by now, let me know and I can help you. Let me pull some more yarn out, because if you don't pull your yarn out and you're trying to knit and the yarn's tight, then your stitches get tight. It affects your tension because you're trying to mess with pulling on hard yarn. Okay, so we're at the beginning of the row again, and that's our increase. And at about this point, if I remember, I'm going to start speeding this up, and I'm going to make a square. I'm going to just go to a certain amount and pretend that that's the end of your blanket and show you how to do the other side.
Well, it's sometime afternoon. Things are going along just fine. A few minutes before, I swear I was sure that I knew my left from my right. But now I've got my doubts about anything that might cause a concern or force me to turn my mind onto overtime. I've got the 3:30s, thoughts are racing in my mind, retracing all the bad things that I've done. It's the highest part of the day. I try to push these thoughts away, but it's no good, they're stacked like wood. I've got the 3:30s again. Well, it's sometime after midnight. There's a full moon up in the sky. I woke from a dream when I heard a scream that caused me an awful fright. There's no reason for me to worry, and yet I can't seem to abide. My skin starts to crawl, god dang it all, there'll be no more sleep tonight. I've got the 3:30s, thoughts are racing in my mind, retracing all the bad things that I've done. It's the darkest part of the day. I try to push these thoughts away, but it's no good, they're stacked like wood. I've got the 330s again. I've got the 330s. Thoughts are racing in my mind, retracing all the bad things that I've done. It's the darkest part of the day. I try to push these thoughts away, but it's no good, they're stacked like wood. I've got the 330s again. I've got the 330s. Thoughts are racing in my mind, retracing all the bad things that I've done.